Hey there. So, when we think about Sjögren's syndrome, our minds usually jump straight to things like dry eyes and crushing fatigue, right? But what about that subtle wobble, that weird, unnerving feeling of instability? Well, today, we're going to decode the hidden ways Sjögren's can mess with your balance, and more importantly, what you can actually do to feel steady on your feet again. This quote just hits the nail on the head. For so many people, balance problems don't show up with some big, dramatic fall. No, they creep in. They're these tiny little moments, a sudden need to grab a railing, or that feeling that your body just isn't quite where you think it is. It's a really quiet, kind of unsettling experience.
So let's talk about that feeling itself, that unsteady, wobbly sensation. I want you to know it's not just in your head, it is a real, explainable symptom that a lot of people with Sjögren's go through.
And that is absolutely the key takeaway here. We get so focused on the main classic symptoms, but this is a systemic autoimmune disease. It can touch so much more of your body. So if you've been feeling unsteady, you're not making it up and you're definitely not alone. There are real physical reasons for it. Let's start to unpack them. Okay, so to get why this happens, we first have to understand what balance even is. And it's not just one thing. Honestly, the best way to think about it is like this incredibly complex, finely tuned orchestra playing inside your body 24/7. So, what does that mean? It means you have multiple systems that have to communicate with each other perfectly in real time, just for you to do something as simple as standing still. And if even one of those musicians is out of tune, the whole performance can feel, well, off. And here are the key players in our little balance orchestra. First up, you've got the vestibular system. That's in your inner ear, and it's sensing every little tilt and turn of your head. Then there's proprioception, which is amazing. It's your body's own internal GPS, telling your brain where your feet are without you even having to look. Of course, you have your vision, giving you those crucial reference points. You need your muscle strength to actually make the adjustments. And finally, you have the conductor of the whole shebang, central processing, your brain, taking in all this information and making sense of it in a split second. The big problem with Sjögren's is that it can mess with several of these players at once, and that's when the music starts to sound pretty chaotic. So, how exactly does Sjögren's throw a wrench in the works of this orchestra? Let's go down the rabbit hole and investigate the specific, often hidden pathways that connect this condition to that feeling of instability. This chart is fantastic because it connects the dots for us. You know that feeling when you get lightheaded just from standing up? Well, that probably points to something called autonomic dysfunction. Or what about numb or tingly feet? That could very well be peripheral neuropathy. See how this works? It helps us move from just a vague, I feel off, to identifying a likely cause, and, most importantly, a practical first step you can try. Let's dig into that first one a little deeper. Autonomic dysfunction. It sounds super complicated, but the feeling itself is really common. It's that head rush you get when you stand up too fast. What's happening is that in Sjögren's, the nerves that are supposed to automatically control things like your blood pressure can kind of get their signals crossed. So your blood pressure drops suddenly, and bam, you feel faint and unstable. Now, another huge player here is peripheral neuropathy. This is when the sensory nerves, especially in your feet, get damaged. So your brain starts to lose reliable information about where your feet are on the ground. It's like trying to walk on a surface you can't really feel properly. Your brain is forced to guess, and that guesswork leads to stumbles, missteps, and that general feeling of instability. And it's not just those two big nerve pathways. I mean, think about it. When you're dealing with brain fog, it's harder to focus on just walking straight. If you have dry eyes, your vision might be blurry, and you lose those important visual cues that keep you oriented. And yeah, even some of the medications we take for Sjögren's can list dizziness as a side effect. It's really a multi-layered problem. Okay, so we've talked a lot about the why, but now for the part we've all been waiting for, right? What in the world can you actually do about it? Let's shift gears and look at some really practical, actionable things you can do to get that feeling of stability back. First things first, let's make your environment safer. These are super simple, high-impact changes you can make literally right now. 1. Keep supports nearby. Don't be afraid to use furniture, banisters, or even a cane to steady yourself. 2. Hunt down trip hazards. Get rid of those throw rugs, clear the clutter from your walkways. 3. Light it up. Use nightlights and brighter bulbs. And 4. Wear good, stable shoes that have some grip. These little things can make a huge difference in reducing your risk of a fall while you're working on the bigger stuff. Now, long-term improvement isn't about some heroic, one-time effort. It's about a gradual, sustainable process. This 12-week plan is a perfect example. You start so small, just 2 minutes a day, and you slowly, gently build from there. It's designed to be Sjögren's friendly, so you can avoid that whole boom and bust cycle that can trigger flares. And here are the golden rules for making this work. The biggest one, the absolute mantra, is consistency over intensity. Your brain and your body learn so much better from a little bit of practice every single day than from one long, exhausting session once a week. So start tiny, be patient, and please, don't hesitate to ask for help. Talk to your doctor, maybe get a medication review or a referral to a physical therapist who gets it.
So after all this information, you might be thinking, okay, where do I even begin? The answer is actually really simple. You begin with just one small, totally manageable step. This quote just says it all, doesn't it? You do not need to overhaul your entire life tomorrow. All you need to do is find one small thing you can do consistently. Seriously, just 2 minutes of standing on one leg while you hold onto the kitchen counter, that is a powerful, totally legitimate way to start retraining your body's balance orchestra. And that brings me to my final question for you. Forget the whole 12-week plan for a second. Just think about today. What is one tiny little thing? Maybe it's standing on one foot while you brush your teeth. Maybe it's just doing a few ankle circles while you watch TV. What's one tiny practice you could try today to take that very first step toward feeling steadier? Because that, right there, is where real progress begins.